Yep.
Testing 1 2 1 2 3.
No, it says please wait. I'm not in the.
Are you joining?
Yes. Currently.
Hmm.
Oh, I have to install the Emacs plugin.
Yeah, you have to install the software. So, hi, whoever's watching now, we're just waiting for confirmation from the Philippine side that we're ready to go. Meanwhile, I'm also troubleshooting over here with my friend Hazwan, who's sitting just next to me. So, give us a few minutes. We'll try and get all the technicalities sorted out, and then we'll start. Once again, if you have any questions, hop over to the Hangout event page. There is a Q&A section. So if you have any questions for me or anything, just feel free to pop in and just say anything. Well, okay, I see a couple of questions already. I see I also have a couple of trolls. Okay, this is a very good question. I will try that. Try to select that later. Yeah, so I'll just try to answer a few of the early questions if you have. So far, what is the best tool for agile development? Um, there's a lot of tools. I'll be going through quite a number of them later. If you have seen a copy of the slides that I've shared on Facebook, you probably have gone through a couple of them. I think for me, the best tool that I've used to use so far is probably Vagrant. Um, yeah, because like with Vagrant, you can have an isolated sandbox where you can do all your stuff in there. So I think for me, that's the biggest agile tool that I like. Um, mm, whether lawyers who rich? Yes, I think so too. No, I'm not rich. I'm just very poor. How's the last one? Okay. Mm, actually, the Q&A interface is quite fun. Uh, can you hear me properly? How is the volume on the system? Is it okay? I guess you really can't really tell, yeah? Oh well, yeah. Okay, let's see Haspa. Hi Has. Okay, so mm, okay. Has one, thanks.
Good afternoon.
You don't have to stay if you don't want to.
I don't know if you guys listen
I think just close the
to
tab, yeah. Okay.
mm,
Okay. Hello, once again, we're having a seminar. We'll be talking about Agile, the Agile Toolbox for a PHP developer. So basically, anyone who is a PHP developer, I'm just sharing my toolbox, what I use, my bag of tricks, and what we use to develop applications in PHP. So yeah, specifically, I mean, this need not be specifically web applications, but it's applications in general, either those that run a command line or those that are meant for small websites or big websites. So just to share with you about my toolbox. Well, my toolbox is not exhaustive. I'm sure there are many more tools out there that you all use. Um, and I hope to be able to explore some of those that you are using as well. Hopefully, if we have time later. Uh, yeah, I'll just give you my opinion about what I use when I was working full time as a PHP developer. What I was using on a daily basis. Yeah, I hope those who have seen the slides will probably know what I'll be talking about. That's great. But let's keep it. I'll try and keep it as easy as basic as possible, so that even for newbies who are using PHP for the first time won't find it um, intimidating, right? So we'll try to have a walkthrough. Good question. I'm receiving some very nice and interesting questions so far, and I think that's great. I may have left out some very important tools, which I'll also cover, hopefully. Um, yeah. Do. Yes, I have left out something very important, but I can cover it. I can include it. I should include it. Yeah, okay. Do. Hi, 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 Jian. Hi, can you hear me? Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay. Yeah, still having to resolve some technical issues with the Filipino side. So just bear with us for a little bit more. Testing 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Is my audio okay? Test 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, hang on. Test 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah. Okay. Uh, Hello, Chian? Can you hear me? Hello?
Hello? Hello? Mike?
Hi, can you hear me?
Can you hear us, Mike?
Uh,
Mike?
yeah.
Hindi, kasi yung nililipin ko yung Agile.
Hey guys, I don't think I can do both.
Mike,
Hey, can you hear me?
just wait. We're just opening the video. Ako, hindi nga siya. Ayun, edit.
Okay. Hi, okay.
Problema ko lang yung ayaw na naman. Naka-edit na yan. Ayaw? Wala. Iyan mo. Iyan ko muna yung ko muna. Nakata mo pa yung volume mo. Nakata mo. Yung account lang. Ah.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Can you hear us? Okay, hang on, let me just double verify. Okay, so you need to use the audio from the video later, I think. Okay. Test. Once again, I apologize for all the technicalities. This is actually the first time the first time I'm actually trying to run this. So do bear with us. Yeah, it's the first time I'm trying to run this. So can I start?
Wait,
Okay.
let me check on the
Yeah, the YouTube, there will be a slight lag. Jen, I'm dropping off from Skype. We'll continue on Skype later. Okay? Okay. Okay, I believe all the technicalities are sorted. So people who are watching the YouTube, there's probably going to be a slight lag delay. So please bear with me if I don't answer your questions immediately, or if there's any things I don't deal with immediately. Yeah, hi, hello. My name is Michael Cheng. So I'm from Singapore. I'm with the Singapore PHP user group. Um, uh, Jan, I'm starting the video now, so I'm starting to talk now. Okay. Right. So, hi. So my name is Michael. I am from the Singapore PHP user group. I'll be sharing with us today about Agile, the Agile Toolbox for the PHP developer. So the first thing you notice is, okay, I'll just now switch to the slides. So from here on, I'll be just showing you slides from my slide deck, and also on what's on my screen. Okay. So I'll just share my desktop now. Okay, hi. So that's us. So I'm talking first of all about the Agile Toolbox for PHP developer. So Agile Toolbox. So you can find the slides I have here on Speaker Deck. So you can find the slide on Speaker Deck using this short URL bit.ly Agile Toolbox -php. So that's where you can find the copy of my slides. So you can comment on it, or you can refer to it later. A bit more about me. So my name is Michael. I'm an engineer with a company called Neo Innovations. And you can find me on Twitter, on GitHub, and on that's my personal website, golokungfu.com. Right, so I've been programming PHP for the last 10 plus years, so I hope I will be able to share with you a little bit more about what I've learned. So what is an Agile developer? I think an Agile developer, in my opinion, is a software craftsman. Software craftsman who are just plucking out the mantra from the Agile manifesto. You know, as software craftsman or Agile developer cherishes individuals and directions over processes and tools, working software over comprehensive documentation, and customer collaboration over contract negotiation, and responding to change over following a plan. So as an Agile developer, I think first of all, we're Agile, so we're always responding to change, and we also want to always have working software. This, for me, these are two most valuable conditions I think is important as an Agile developer. The rest are also important too. So an Agile developer is communicative and collaborative. We have discussions around stories, user stories, the user journey, and what the user goes through in developing, in using our website, right, or using the tools that we're building. So we have to always be communicative and collaborative, finding out what the user wants, and listening to what our user wants, and talking to our product owner and product managers about this. We're test-driven and behavior-driven because we want to build something that people want to use. If the user does not behave in a certain way, there's no point in developing something for them. So in a way, we cherish tests in a way because the test in a way is our documentation. It tells us how our software should respond and behave, right? Um, so let's see. Are we still okay? I think we're still okay. Okay, just checking in to make sure we're fine. Right. So as an agile developer, we also respond to change. So we're not only willing to we're not waiting for the end of the development life cycle to fix a bug. So when we see a bug coming in or if we see a bug, we'll have to file a story and try to fix it as soon as we can. We respond quickly to change, but it doesn't mean that we have to stay longer hours lah. Right? So we basically have try to be responsive. So our tools that we use have to be supportive of all that. So our tools will have to be supportive of us being more communicative and collaborative. Our tools have to be helping us write tests and be able to write tests quickly and write tests that are readable and understandable. And our tools have to help us be responsive to customer needs and changes in the requirements. So basically, our tools that we have has to help us communicate, has to help us write tests more effectively, and to help us to respond quickly to changes. So the toolbox that we have of the bag of tricks that I will be sharing with you, not all of them are written in PHP. We want to use the best tool for the job. So the best tool doesn't mean it has to be PHP. It can be written in Ruby, can be written in Python, it can be written in C or whatever. But because this is the ecosystem around us that helps us build software, so this is kind of important. So we look for the best tool for the task. And many of these are also DevOps tools. So these are tools that not just you use, but people who are helping you manage your servers will also be able to use to automate tedious tasks. So I hope this will be helpful. Once again, thanks to Wiki, who actually raised a question about why I didn't cover SVN or Git. Well, actually, yes, it's an oversight. As I look back again at the points that I raised earlier about an agile developer has to be communicative and collaborative. I think as a senior developer, I sometimes take for granted very fundamental and basic things like version control. But I think this is a very important tool that helps us communicate changes in the code. As in all Git commits and messages communicate what the feature is we're writing, what it has to do, and how we can what the feature is about, right? In a very short sentence, and it's to help your co-workers who be working on the same code or managing the code after you, who can then understand and read and be able to understand what you've gone through. Why I prefer Git over SVN over Subversion. Git is a distributed version control software, so you can actually use it on any machine without having to worry about whether your server is up. Right? Sometimes you read a lot of code, but then if the central Subversion server is down, you can't do your commits, which is kind of frustrating. Git is a distributed system, so you can make commits locally before you start pushing it out to the server. Yeah, so that's the first tool that I like, and I think any PHP developer should know about. If you are not sure about how to use this, check out this website. There's a link is there, gitscm.com, where you can download the version of Git that is suitable for your system. On top of this, you should also consider using a hosted Git repository. For example, I personally use GitHub. GitHub.com is a very nice tool that gives you that allows you to manage all your Git repositories. Let me see if I can get out this. No. Yeah, so let me sign out. So with Git, you can GitHub, you can see all your code. But downside is that GitHub is private repos not free, so public repos are free. So if you want something for private repos, that's free. I would suggest use Bitbucket. Bitbucket is unlimited private repos, so you can use this. The features, in terms of features and capabilities, I think GitHub and Bitbucket are kind of on par. The only upside on Bitbucket is the private repos are free, but they limit the number of users you can have on the private repo. Yeah, so I think I should add that if I can. Let me see. I should add this now. GitHub and Bitbucket. Okay, sweet. I'll update the slides with the additional stuff that I've added. So hope you guys can download it later. Okay, next tool I would like to share with you is Composer. So Composer is a code dependency checker. So basically, if you have your own application depends on a couple of external libraries, you can use this to basically get them all merged down and download it for your project very quickly. So what this does is basically all you need to do is to create a JSON file called composer.json. So you can use and then with that composer.json file that looks something like this. In the JSON file, you'll be able to declare and tell people that what you are looking for. What libraries are you need to use in your application. So things like monologue. In my case, I'm using PHP Active Record for one of my projects. Respect REST as a REST API. There are also optional libraries you can include, which are only for development, so you can require dev and stuff like that. You can find out a whole bunch of these libraries that already support Composer by going to a website called packages.org. So you can go there and basically see a list of all the applications that or libraries, third-party libraries that support Composer. So it's as simple as going to creating a file and just running the command. So basically, all you do is download. First of all, you need to download the composer.file, which is a executable file. Once you download that file, then you have an executable file on your local machine that you can use to download the different packages that you need. You can go to basically go to packages and look for the package you're looking for. Say I'm looking for a REST server, right? So this will basically tell me all the different REST servers that are available. Respect REST is something I use for some of my own personal projects. So you can actually go down and find the version that you need and just use it. So in my case, I will now show you very quickly a sample project. So sample project like this, I would have I'll have a require statement. So I have require. I'll say I need respect REST. So I require monologue as for logging, and I require respect REST for the REST API. Also for development purposes, I also have PHP unit installed. Right. So once I have this all here, all you do next is go to the command line. So I believe it should be here. So I just type composer install. If you have not done an installation yet, you just type composer install, or you can type composer update, just so that you can then download the rest of the packages that you need. So in that particular case, I've already had two packages, which are monologue and PHP unit, both installed. So I'm adding a new one called respect REST. So if you're asking where does all these packages get downloaded to, it basically gets downloaded to a folder called vendors, right? So you can look at a folder called vendor. Inside vendor, you will see all the libraries that has been downloaded. So monologue was the one that I had previously, PHP unit. Then the next thing that gets downloaded is the respect REST, which I believe should be here soon. Let me try and resynchronize this. So there's a folder called respect, and there's a REST folder right? So your code is required here, and all you need to do to start using any of the apps inside the is basically to basically include the file. So basically require, in this case I'm requiring from vendor, and I'm going to get the auto load. Let me try and find a file. Okay, autoload.php, right? Right, so this will basically get me the file that I need. And then this will basically be, once I have this, all I need to do next is to call the function. So in this case, let's have a look at respect res, for example. So respect res, I'll just look at the, let me just look at the website. Right, so you start using this, all you do is to say I'm using a router, giving it this, right? So just use respect rest and router, right? And then I'm saying S3. Oops, sorry. Right, so that's all you need to do. So basically, all the libraries that are in Composer follow a naming convention, which is basically a namespace. So if you've been using PHP or the latest PHP for a while, you will have known about something like this. So namespacing is kind of like a way of creating a separate so namespaces will help you as a PHP developer to write libraries or classes which would not have would not clash with other developers' library class names. So basically, I have in this particular case, respect res has a class called router. So once you give a namespace, it has sub namespaces that you can give to it, and basically his version of router class will not clash with another person's router class. So it's kind of like to ensure that different libraries can coexist in the same place without having to clash, without having to worry about clashing names of classes. So the bunch of guys who have come forward to put together a bunch of guys from the framework interop group has come together to create a kind of standard, a shared standard for everyone. They call the framework interoperability group. So these guys come forward and created a bunch of standard for recommended standards. One of them is the auto-loading standard, and I think Composer was one of the first projects that would adhere to this auto-loading standard. And with that, they've also shared that same idea. So basically, you use namespace to create folders, and in namespace will be and based on which class you're looking for, Composer creates its own auto-loading class that will help you get all the files you need by helping you to auto-include them and require them. What this is helpful is how this is helpful is it helps you stop worrying about the external codes that you're working with. So you're working with a library from another place, so you want to always make sure that you have the latest version. So you use something like Composer to help you keep it on track. So and also if there are cases where a particular version of the library, sometimes you keep downloading the latest version of the library, you end up downloading the most unstable version. So with Composer, it helps you keep track of, make sure that your application is tied to a particular version of the library and not having to use a unstable version. Of course, not using the most latest version also has its pitfalls. In this case, when a composer downloads all the libraries, he also creates a new file called composer.log. in composer.log is a JSON file that actually tells you explicitly what version of the app of the libraries that you're using. So when you in our naming convention for monologue, for example, we can actually put a star at the back to say anything that has 1.7 star. So we know that in the .7 1.7.x version, we know all this should be sufficiently supported, so we won't accidentally jump to 1.8 unnecessarily, right? So with the composer.log, when you check this in, you check into your Git repository. When your colleagues now try to do the composer update, you'll be ensured that they will also download the same version that you're using in your machine. So basically, it helps you collaborate in terms of making sure everyone has the same version of the library, and also make sure that you keep in step with the latest and most stable version of the application of the third-party libraries. Even in cases where you're using a third-party library which is unstable, you can easily roll back to the previous version by just changing the number here, which is very helpful when you need to work with a lot of different libraries, and you'll make sure that all of them keep in step and being the most latest version or not. So that's all for Composer. So do check it out. They have a website called Packages, which gives you a list of all these projects are open source, so you can easily and quickly use this in your project anytime. I recommend checking it out. There's a whole bunch of stuff here. You can also create your own composer packages. So you can make your own open source library or open source project composer compatible. Then your friends can share and use your package, which is kind of fun. Yeah, it's quite simple to use. So just check it out. Next thing I want to share is about, so you've written PHP code, you want to preview them very quickly. So in the past, we need to download our code or upload our code to the web server to actually check it, or make sure we have an Apache server running in the background before we can actually run our PHP code. So with PHP 5.4, they have actually introduced a built-in web server. So if you type, it's simple as typing php-s 0000 dot colon 8000, you'll be able to start a web server running on your local machine. So I can show you right now. So I have a little, okay, let's create a new folder called make directory plain. So this is plain and simple. Inside plain and simple, there's nothing here yet. So let's create a new file, index.php. So that's PHP and then echo hello PHP UG. Right. Okay. So once we have this, so how would we preview this page? Right. In the past, we have to take this file, or we have to change our Apache document root to point to this plain folder before I can actually see it, right? I can show you right now. I can just look at localhost 8000, for example. There should be nothing here. Nothing's running here. So what I can do next is just type php-s, capital S, localhost. Or you can bind the localhost. You can bind basically the IP address. So I'm binding it to 0.0.0.0. So anyone outside of my network, or rather anyone in my network, could see it. So you can use this to kind of share very quickly your code and show to the other guy next to you. The port number is arbitrary, so you can just put any number. So I just prefer 8000. So I just type php-s, the IP address, colon, the port you want to serve your file under. So you can do this. Immediately your code in this folder is ready to be shared and viewed. So you go to your browser again, right? So you can see, I'll say hello to you guys in the Philippines. Hello. Yeah. So yeah. So this is a very quick and easy way to preview and check your PHP code, or even to share to basically preview your code and see whether it's actually doing the right thing. Yeah. So that's one way. Another way is to actually use a third-party libraries, or rather another Another way is use a library called PHP up. So if you're running on a Mac or Linux, chances are you already have Apache installed. So we want to be able, with PHP up, you can actually set up a quick and easy Apache instance, a very fast and easy Apache instance to just preview the code. So you just, for example, in the same case, let me just update the file, say, right, from Singapore. Right, so just show that I'm actually writing on the different file. So I just type PHP up. So basically, the code itself. Let me see if I can bring it up. Right, PHP up is a project I've actually contributed as a couple of pull requests to. You can see that's me. So what it does is basically based on your Ubuntu or Mac OS. If you're running Mac, you basically use your already pre-installed version of Apache and then create its own a micro instance of sorts. So you can use that to. So basically, what I do is just PHP up -p for the port number. You use port 8000 by default, followed by the file you want to serve or the folder you want to serve. Right. So in this case, I can just type PHP up. Actually, that's all I need. Right. So PHP up, I'm already serving a file at port 8000, and basically you'll be serving this folder by default. So let's try and get to that folder. Yeah. So, oh, it's a spelling mistake. Never mind. Yeah, but you get the picture, right? So this is actually a full Apache instance running in the background. So that's kind of cool. So if you want to preview your code very quickly, for your PHP script very quickly, you can use built-in web server in PHP, or you can use PHP up, which is a very simple library that you can download, right? Next, we want to do is basically, right, some of the other tools that we have are basically for testing. So you have a tool for testing that's called PHP unit. So PHP unit is a code that's been it's kind of like the PHP unit is like the de facto testing framework for PHP. So it's very simple. It's pretty simple to use. Well, simple is a relative term, right? So basically, okay. So basically, all it does is you write test classes, and test classes will be used to compare and check your code. So down to the unit level. So basically, at the class level or the function level, right? If you are there for my previous last year when I came to Philippines, I probably did a very comprehensive talk about PHP unit. This guy's at PHP unit has also been iterating. They've been making new changes, and they're now currently at version 4.1. Yeah, there's a new kit on the block for testing. Or let me maybe just go through very quickly testing. Writing tests in PHP unit. So it could be as simple as, so basically you create a class, and you basically extend the PHP framework test case class. And what it does is that you have all your test functions will have a test prefix. So test, push and pop, right? And in each of the tests, inside this test function, you will have assertions. Assertions will be basically checking on comparing the results of something with something, right? So basically the result of your code with an expected result. So I am expecting the value of this to be something that like say 0, right? In this case, stack. I create a new variable with the array stack, and basically I do an assertion that checks that the number of items in the stack is 0, right? Then I'll do an array push. Now I'll assert again that basically the value has to be of a certain number and has to be equals to 1, and so on and so forth. So basically, you in your code, you could be creating an instance of your class. So in this case, you're testing a shopping cart class, right? Shopping cart class, we create an instance of a shopping cart, and you basically do a check. Let's say assert equals 0 for number of items in the cart, right? So you have a function that says cart. Say the function called num items, and basically that will give you, sorry, you have a where was I? Oh, sorry, lost the tab. Where is it? Where is it? Yeah, so you could have a method that will check the number of items in the cart, and basically you can assert equals 0 for number of items in the cart. And then once you add items to the cart, you assert that the cart number of items in the cart will be more than 0, right? So that is how you kind of test each unit. So each the granular level, going down to the granular level, testing each of your function that your class, your own application is expected to produce, the result that you're expected to produce in each of your class. So that's PHP unit. There's another player in town. It's called Codeception. So the thing about PHP unit is that it gives you unit tests, basically unit tests down to the unit level, the class level, the function level, and the method level. But how about tying it all together? Basically tying the entire application together from the starting point of coming to your site, adding an item to your shopping cart, clicking on something, and going to the checkout counter, right? Going to the checkout page, rather. So with Codeception, it's actually another way of doing it, which is also quite fun. So I can show you, let me see whether I can show you an example now. Let me look for the application. Should be here, I hope. Yeah, it's here. Okay. Okay. Right. So here's a test written in Codeception. So Codeception is basically a command line interface. So you can use Codeception. It should basically be Codeception run. Let me try and recall. Codecep run. Oops. Okay, that was a negative test. Sorry about that. I didn't have time to set this up properly yet. Okay, let me just go through quickly. Yeah, so Codeception is, so you can run unit tests as well as integration tests with this. And setting up is actually fairly straightforward. Although unfortunately I have not actually set up properly on my local machine. I apologize for that. But basically, it's another testing framework which is quite fun to use. It has other things that you can create mocks with it. You can create unit tests. Unit tests are basically running PHP unit tests. You can do database tests as well, and you can also do simple things like API tests. So you can run an API test for a REST server that you're creating for your client, for example. And then you can do acceptance tests. In this case, you could open the page, click on a button, and try it and look for the title and spec the H1 to make sure there's the word Hobbit there, for example. So we can actually do some pretty nifty stuff with Codeception. Unfortunately, I don't think I have time to show you exactly what it does. Yeah. So on top of, to lead on from the fact that we should try to use a testing framework, is that you try to use a PHP framework that actually supports testing. So things like Laravel and Cake PHP are two of the forerunners in providing a very comprehensive testing framework. Cake PHP as well Cake PHP 2 is now supported with PHP unit. So as I say, PHP unit is pretty much everywhere. So yeah, it's built in right into PHP, Kick PHP. The good thing, usually when we run a PHP unit test, we have to run it in a command line. But with Kick PHP, they have taken a step further by giving you a web interface, so you can actually individually run just a small part of your test by just going to a web page. So you have a Kick PHP application installed. Then you go to /test.php, and you basically can run the test. You can see the test in visually see the test as a web page, which is kind of fun. Laravel has also support for PHP unit, and also has support for Codeception, so you can actually use that for this. I don't have details here, but you can probably go read up more about it. If you're a Mac user, as a Mac user, I use a lot of tools, and one of the tools that I use is Dash. Dash is a very nice kind of little dashboard. I hope I can show to you now. Let's see if I can show you the dashboard. So the dashboard looks something like this, right? So I have a shortcut key, which is a shortcut key. So the thing looks like this over here, right? And I have a shortcut key, which is Shift Command D, which will bring up this little thing. So I can do PHP. I'm looking for a function, say array merge, right? So this will basically bring me quickly to the array merge function and show me what you have. And the best part about this is that it's offline, so you can actually refer to this even when you don't have internet connection. So as long as it's downloaded, well, of course, when you're downloading the libraries, you need to or the documentation, you need to have internet connection. Yeah, so you can see there's a lot of documents. Different types of documents you can download. You can download your CSS or less documentation of jQuery. I use that quite a fair bit. Now I'm doing a bit more Ruby and Rails, so I have also downloaded all that available to me. So yeah, so that's Dash. I believe you can use it for free. There's also a paid version which will remove the ads and the waiting time. So yeah, I would recommend this if you're working in an environment where there could potentially be limited internet connection, and you need to have all these things quick and handy. I think even online, when you search online, we'll be using Stack Overflow or Google for a particular function. You know, like the array merge example I just showed you. I'll probably end up landing on the php.net website, which requires an internet connection. So if I have this, I don't need to go online all the time, and it's quick search. So you can basically search as you show you the answer as you type, right? So it's kind of cool. Right, and on top, okay, so next, use an IDE. I know a lot of people who are still big fan of using a text editor, which is fine. I'm still using Vim, I'm still using Sublime Text, I'm still using TextMate. But there are certain situations where you want to use an IDE. I have personally used both PHP Storm and NetBeans. NetBeans is free, so you can download that right now, and it's you don't have to pay a single cent. PHP Storm there's a cost involved, so you can download it. You have to pay for it. What I really like about using a suite like using an IDE, right, is the autocomplete function. You can discover all your external libraries that you're working on. So, for example, in the earlier example when I was looking for the libraries, I can just say I'm looking for respect or monologue, for example. Monologue. Sorry, monologue. You tell me the different things I'm looking for, and stuff like that. So it will help you discover code, and even if you need to, drill down into the underlying code. So you can hold down my command key, press this, go straight into it, drill down into the code, and find out what's going on here. If you want to, it will be very helpful if you have a very large code base and you need to be able to drill down quickly to the different parts of the application. I think having the ability to point and click and go straight into the code, I think that's all very powerful. NetBeans should have such feature as well. I think yes, it has such features as well. And this is an IDE like this has the integration with things like the database. I think one thing to really think about when you're looking at an IDE, right, is I think any coding environment, you really want to minimize your context switching. What I mean by context switching, basically you're in your IDE now and you're moving into another tool to check your Git repository. You go into another tool to check that and this and that and everything else. With tools like with this, like PHP Storm, there are a lot of things that are already built into this, right? So it has Git support, for example. So if I do a Command K, there's no changes. Okay, so let's see. Git add, for example. So this has inbuilt support for Git, so you can actually add and write commits right here right now over in this place. PHP Storm also has terminal support, so you can actually see your terminal screen and then do stuff here as well. You can see your version control, you can see the version control logs, local changes, even get a list of all the to-dos, which is kind of fun. So in the code that I'm looking at, I can check out the structure. I can check out the structure of the code. There's nothing here, I'll just look at the other one. By this particular library, I can see the structure of this. I can go jump straight to the function that I need to go to. There's just a lot of benefits of having used an IDE like this, as you don't have to keep switching between. You just focus on one place for all your coding needs. Everything you need to do and work on is in one place. Like your Git is here, your Git is there, and everything else is there. So I think for me that's the biggest benefit of using an IDE versus a text editor. I think Sublime does have some of these functions, but it's still lacking in certain areas, like detecting code that is written by you, like another part of your system. Yeah, so then it also has integration with PHP unit and for testing, so which is kind of cool. Yeah, I prefer PHP Storm because it's kind of slick and the color codes it's kind of nice. Shortcut keys are also quite easy to remember. Yeah. Okay. Another bit of tools that we use is use a virtual machine. When we're working on code and you really want to make sure that your development environment is as close as possible to your production. So you want to make this. What I use personally is a software called Vagrant. So it basically is a tool for building complete development environments. So it's like you basically be running VirtualBox instances. So basically it's a command line tool that helps you manage your VirtualBox machines. Right? You can do a simple command like Vagrant up, Vagrant down, Vagrant up, Vagrant halt, Vagrant suspend to basically stop your instance. And it's folder based. So all you do is have a file called Vagrant file, and inside the Vagrant file we have the settings for all your VM. For PHP developers, fortunately, there's a bunch of guys who have done some pretty good job. This is guys from Fufet. You can check out their website. It's Vagrant. Puppet. So Puppet is a very nice tool, a GUI tool that lets you go through, like say what I want to do. So basically, I want to create a new virtual machine. I'm doing it locally, which is great. I can also create it on Vagrant. Vagrant also supports things like DigitalOcean, Rackspace, and Amazon Web Service. So you can basically use Vagrant on your local machine to spin up a virtual machine on Amazon Web Service. So which is kind of nice on EC2. But locally, I just want to use something locally, so I can set up like a virtual machine on 64-bit Ubuntu instance running locally. I can set up a local IP address, how much RAM to allocate for it, a port number to allocate, a folder number, all that. Server packages, so I need to use Vim, right? So I can use this right here. I can specify the web server I'm running, so I'm running Apache. I can also choose to use Nginx as well, which is kind of handy. And I can set a virtual host. Next, I have choice of setting up PHP, whichever version that you need. So I think I'm using 5.4. I can also set HHVM as well. So if you need to just run you want to play around with HHVM, you can use this. It's kind of fun. Right, so set up Xdebug. Okay, I'll get Xdebug installed. Database. You can set up your database. You can use Postgres or MariaDB or whatever. I'll just use default. Work queue. Do I need to? I may need beanstalk. I may not need it. I don't need, maybe. Okay, when I'm done, I'm ready. Go ahead, make it. So what this does is that it creates for me a fully usable version of Vagrant, along with all the settings required to run a PHP instance. Right. So in this case, I can show you right now. It basically has a Vagrant file and a Puppet file. Basically, this will be all the basically uses Puppet to provision your server, to basically set up all the stuff that you need to run a PHP servers. Inside the Vagrant file, you will see things like, let me see if I can open this. So in the Vagrant file, you will have things like, this is actually Ruby, right? So let me see, I'm going to increase this. Right, so in the Vagrant file, it's basically a bunch of Ruby commands that will basically tell us what to set up and how to run the system. This is a little bit overcomplicated, but you don't have to know all that. But what's more important inside it is this file, the config.yaml file, which basically tells us what version of what OS you want, what private networks you want to set up, folders you want to share. Right, so I already have something like this running earlier, so I can show how it is like. So once I have this downloaded, I have a folder called Vagrant PHP. So you just type Vagrant up. And what this will do is basically start up my virtual machine. It usually takes a bit longer than this. But you get the picture. But I'm just showing you as an example. Okay, so this should hopefully start up. Right, it's mounting some shared folders for my application, and that's it. It's running. So what to get into your box, you just type Vagrant SSH, and now inside here. So this box can also be packaged. So you can actually come out of this and come and package this VM that you've just created and share with your co-workers. So your colleagues could have the same virtual machine and set up as you, and then you're pretty much ensured that they will work on the same environment. What this is good at is you're working on, like right now I'm on a Mac, and I can develop on the Ubuntu. So basically, I can develop on code that will run on an Ubuntu machine. So which will probably be very close to a production environment. So what this does is that you can code and write everything in PHP that you need on Ubuntu, and you know that you have much more confidence that whatever PHP code you write will run effectively on the production machine. And if you want, I can try and open localhost. I think no, this is not localhost. It's a 192.168.56.101. It should give me that page, that bigger application. Yeah. So it has this thing that's running inside. It also has PHP MyAdmin, so you can log into your PHP MyAdmin and manage your databases here. Yeah. So everything is pretty much out of the box from Fulfit. And even if you want to make changes, all you need to do is just drag and drop your file. So So as I said, the config YAML file, you can just drag and drop it back in here. So let me try and get my YAML file. Drag and drop here. And then what I've done here is I've reconfigured it back to my original setting, or rather the setting which is used right now for my VirtualBox in my Vagrant instance. So I can go in and change some things and re-download the entire package again, which is kind of fun. Which then lets me update my local machine. Yeah. So that's Vagrant and Puppet. Yeah. Other tools that I look at, debugging tools. Debugging in PHP is horrendous. Let's put it this way. Debugging, there's no interactive debugger, so it's kind of frustrating. But you can use certain tools like Xdebug to kind of create a profile of your code. Certain IDEs like PHP Storm and NetBeans also can integrate with Xdebug. If you set up Xdebug properly, you can actually step through your code. But then because most PHP libraries are so complex, it's a little bit difficult for you to actually step through effectively sometimes. Personally, I will use Xdebug for profiling my code. So I use a web-based tool called WebGrind. So basically, Xdebug, you can tell it I want to profile a particular script. It will basically generate a file, and you can load the file into WebGrind. And you can see the call path, basically the call stack from the start when the request comes in. What does it go through? How many milliseconds you've spent on each particular function in your application? You can even drill down to you can actually remove things from the native calls. So you only narrow it down to just your application functions and calls. Even things like database, the time spent on database connections can also be captured here, which is kind of cool. As of PHP 5.6, it also comes with a interactive debugger. This is a project supported by Rasmus Ledorf, the creator of PHP. So it's PHP DBG. As of 5.6, it will be built into the application, it will be distributed as part of the binary, which is kind of interesting. But you can use it. You can start using it now from PHP 5.4 onwards. But getting it installed is a little bit of a headache. So you probably need to read up on some manuals. I've not actually had a chance to get this to work properly. So maybe in the future when this project becomes more mature, and you get I'll be able to report back and give you some more details. But keep a lookout for this. This is kind of interesting project. Right, there are some other online tools that I would find very interesting and will be very cool. Modern.ie. Modern.ie is a site where you can, well, the bane of our lives as web developers is Internet Explorer 6. So with but of course more recent versions of Internet Explorer has improved a lot. But with this is a project that's sponsored by Microsoft, so they actually you can use this to kind of check out different types of you can test out different types of different versions of Internet Explorer. So for example, here I can download a virtual machine in VirtualBox and basically make it run IE all the way down to IE6, IE8 on different. So you have a trial version of the operating system, Windows, and you can then run your Internet Explorer on these different OSs. So you can actually see how your pages look like on those different browsers. Very handy when you do testing on these browsers. Another online tool which I use personally is, because in the past I deal with a lot of JSON code, so I use this to basically get to show me things in structure. So like when you have when you receive a very huge chunk of JSON and you really want to be able to see what's going on, I find this a very, very, very nice tool to have. So you can do drill down like this. So you have a very large JSON chunk, you just copy and paste it, and this guy will basically format it properly for you, and the different nested layers, and you can see quite a lot of things, which is actually very good. Another project which I want to highlight is this thing called Nitrous IO. Nitrous IO is basically like it's a virtual machine in the cloud, and then you can use this to share with other developers, collaborate with other developers. So I can show you a quick demo now. So I can use this to create a new box in PHP, right? My awesome box, PHP UG, you know, right? And basically I can set up in Southeast Asia, right? So what this will do is you create for me a virtual machine, and you can see everything on the browser. So you have an IDE, a text editor in the browser. You also have access to the console. Basically, you can have it's a shell where I log into the server. So you can see here now. I can actually go in. Sorry, yeah. So it's actually a fully working shell. So right. So you can get out of this, and then you can see there's also IDE. So what's in the workspace? So I can right click and say new file, index.php, right? So basically I can then use this to do like PHP echo Gaspar properly. I hope so. All right, so save this and then I can preview it. Yeah. So, and the best part about this is about Nitrous IO is that you can also get collaborators. You can actually ask your friends to join you. You can invite friends. You can ask your friends to join you, and then by email or whatever, and then they can log in, and then both of you can work on the same code at the same time, which is kind of fun. Right, so you can set up collaborative mode on this particular file, and then your co-workers from another part of town can log in and then be able to work on the same code with you. It's kind of fun. And because you have the same code running on, because you have access to the console, you can actually go inside here and do things like lint. You can do a lint, no insert text error. So yeah, so you can even go, because this is a full Linux box, you have root access. I believe I have full access. Right. Yeah, so I should be able to do things like update or downloads, update the packages, download stuff, and which is kind of fun. Right, so let's go back. And another tool that I really like and I personally use is a thing called Pivotal Tracker. Pivotal Tracker is a agile development. It's like an issue tracking, but in a Kanban kind of style, whereby you have current, backlog, and icebox and stuff. And it's pretty because they have a new beta version, and I think it's very supportive of an agile workflow in any company. So for further readings, you can check out the other things you can check out. For example, PHP the Right Way. This has a very good list of best practices. I would say best practices on how to write PHP the right way. So it's kind of fun. And of course, you've seen the FIG website. There's also a book that I really recommend you guys getting or finding how to get it. I'm not sure whether you can get it. I'm sure you can easily find it in your library or from some download site. Okay, it's called Clean Code. It's a handbook for agile software craftsmen. This is a very good book. I recommend you reading it and learning from it. Basically, this would basically show you how to write code cleanly and to make sure your colleagues get it. I think it's a very good book to read. With that, we've come to the end of this session. Yeah, so I should now open the floor up to questions. Right. I will be shifting over to Skype call with our Filipino counterparts. I'll try my best to record whatever answers I have and to feedback to you guys who have a question for me. Yeah. And so I would have to stop the broadcast here so I can join this Skype call. I'm sorry about this. Yeah, there's some technicalities. I can't have both running at the same time. I'm sorry about that. So, yeah. Thank you for listening. Really appreciate it.